Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with RealTime Fantasy Sports. Welcome to another Fantasy Life Championship live stream event. We are going to bring you our latest Fantasy Life Championship draft, and we are going to be joined by the great Howard Bender once again. Howard, thanks so much for coming on. Looking sharp there with those shades on, my friend. You ready to go?
I'm feeling the vibe today, Jeff. I'm feeling the vibe. I just noticed in the draft room, drafting 7th, my boy, Rich McEwen, who I know likes to play all over the place here. Red Blaze 1 is his team. So, I saw that. I was like, whoa. And he's right next to Suncoast, who has another hot, steamy pick.
For sure, yeah. This draft, some familiar faces in it, Howard. Again, some people that have drafted in the past on these Wednesday night drafts. If you want to get in one, you can do it right now. They're open. Next Wednesday's draft is open. I guess that's July 9th. And you can sign up for that. It's a 9 p.m. Eastern, chance to win $500,000. That's what these Fantasy Life Championship drafts bring home. You win it all, you win $500,000. Also, league prizes as well. So it's not just the overall prize. You can win money for winning your league, finishing second, doing well in the overall championship. Also, you can take home a lot of money. You can get in all sorts of leagues here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. Go to RTSports.com, click on that money league link, see everything we have to offer on there. Howard has his great best beat Bender best ball contest going on as well. Howard, how can people get involved in that?
Real simple. You could, well, if you've never been to the site, you're just kind of experiencing RT Sports through the magic of YouTube. Well, you can go to rtsports.com/Bender. When you sign up and deposit over there, you get like a 50% match on your first deposit up to $500. And then there's a button right there on the page that says draft against me. And you can jump in. It's a $10,000 grand prize for the Beat Bender tournaments. Ooh, look at that draft board. And it's a great time. Lots of drafts going on. I just wrapped one, and I'm probably in like the 7th round of another one right there. So we're gonna load up some more and jump on in. Here we go.
Yeah. So not only do you get in these drafts, Howard's actually in a lot of them. So it's a lot of fun to play against him. And he talks about the drafts as well and goes into his strategy for that in his articles on Fantasy Alarm and whatnot. So definitely want to get involved in that. The Beat Howard Bender contest, a lot of fun. It's tight end premium, 1.5 points PPR for tight ends, and it's a chance to win $10,000 as well. So it has a great overall prize. This one we're watching here tonight, though, is the Fantasy Life Championship draft, and the draft order for tonight. It is who was picked. It was Mason's. He is drafting first. Then Roach Motel, Diddler returns, Lou Redwood, X marks the spot, Josie Wales, Red Blaze, Suncoast, Krish's Kodiaks, Pudding Pops, Trippin' Billies, and Friendly Fire. Howard, these were some easy names for me to pronounce this week. I am on board with all of them. I do not think I butchered any of them at this point, so I'm very happy with that. But there are some familiar owners in this draft, so it's always good to see these guys back and participating. But as you can see, we're going fast and furious here. The round one's almost in the books. It's Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, Jamar Chase, Saquon, Justin Jefferson, Ashton Genty, CeeDee Lamb, Nakua, Neighbors, St. Brown, and Collins. So really receiver heavy there, that second half of the draft. I guess that's a little out of the ordinary of what we've seen lately in these. Howard. It's been kind of running back heavy for a lot of them. So receiver going a little more receiver premium here.
Right, which again, I like. I definitely like switching it up. No doubt about it. I'm very, very curious to see who Friendly Fire takes with this pick, because this could be a very interesting moment here for the live stream. I don't know if you know where
I'm thinking the same thing.
Right? I'm like, could it happen?
Broke the streak.
Could it happen again? No, it's not. No. He takes Brian Thomas Jr. at the end. Jeff, this kills our streak of drafts where Devon Achane and Derrick Henry landed as a first and second pick for a team. Not even the same team. It just so happened to be that way. I love this. I love the back end here going with the wide receivers, because I'll tell you what, if there's one thing that I've learned while doing all of these Beat Bender drafts, now granted, they're best ball in comparison to a season long like this. But I've found that running back value in rounds 3 and 4 that I actually really like. So if I'm starting off with a wide receiver, like a couple of good solid wide receivers, I feel really great about it. I was joking around before. I was kind of mixing things up. This last one I did, I had Jamar Chase and I took AJ Brown, and then I just went with Jalen Hurts. And because I knew that in rounds 4 and 5, I was still going to get running backs who I like, that range of running back that I've been, gravitating towards.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny you say that about finding the value later on. I feel like it hits both ways. I think there's good value with the receiver position as well after you get past those top guys off the board. I just did a best ball draft where I got Garrett Wilson in the 4th round, and then I took Calvin Ridley, another guy we both like, Howard, and I took Cortland Sutton. That's the other one. That was my trio of receivers. I went Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams to start my draft, and then I got, as I mentioned, Garrett Wilson, Cortland Sutton, and Calvin Ridley. So it kind of hits both ways. I think there's definitely some value to be had by maybe if you want to stack certain position. There's definitely some guys both at receiver and running back that I think can do well for you after those first couple of rounds. So it's kind of interesting to see how it's all going to play out this year.
Yeah, that Garrett Wilson discount is criminal.
Yeah, I know it was.
That 4th round Garrett Wilson. This is a dude that people were taking at the tail end of the 1st round. Well, like are we that afraid of Justin Fields?
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's about consolidated targets.
Yep.
That's what like one of the things you don't have to have, this amazing, crazy high profile to be a dominant wide receiver, especially in fantasy. If you're the only ticket in town, which he is, like, I mean, are we afraid of Josh Reynolds? Amani Smith? The only other pass catcher I like on the Jets is Mason Taylor, the tight end. So Garrett Wilson's going to get a boatload of targets. Boatload.
To me, he's very similar to Malik Neighbors. I think it's almost the same situation. Just set up for a ton of targets in an offense lacking weapons outside of those number one receivers. I think both those New York teams could have some monster number one fantasy receivers on their team, and I like both of them a lot this year. So as you see now, the running backs get pushed down a little bit, Howard. You got Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey falls to the 2nd round, Devin Achane, Bucky Irvin, Jonathan Taylor. So what do those last 5 teams actually all went running back with their 2nd pick. So we have a receiver running back combo. What's your favorite out of those 5?
My favorite combo out of this 5 is probably Brian Thomas and Derrick Henry. Mm-hmm. Because I love Brian Thomas. I think the one that would probably end up being the most productive, I think, could be Puka Nacua and Jonathan Taylor. Like, again, Jonathan Taylor is another guy who's dropping in drafts, and I don't really understand why. Makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. I think you could make a case for several of those. If McCaffrey stays healthy, you got to like that Nico Collins McCaffrey one. But I'm probably like you. I probably like Thomas Henry the most out of those options. So actually no tight end taken just yet in the 2nd round. We have not seen the Brock Bowers pick. Maybe everybody's been listening to us saying that we're not comfortable taking him in the 2nd round. Let's see if Masons does it here. He could maybe do it still, but at this point, it's Henry, McCaffrey, Achane, Irving, Jonathan Taylor, Drake London, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown, Ladd McConkey, Kyron Williams. So let's see what Masons does here. Back-to-back picks with him here. We have 2 teams with 2 running backs each. Howard, you got Roach Motel with Bijan and Kyron, and Lou Redwood with Saquon and Chase Brown. So Chase Brown, I guess that's about where he goes. Actually,
I would not have taken Chase Brown over Kyron Williams. Again, what I love about Kyron Williams is that this is a dude who plays just a sick snap percentage. He was like at like a 93% snap share. For Sean McVay, who just like leads with that guy. I get it. Brown kind of turned it up a little bit late last season as the Bengals were just desperately chucking the ball all over the field, including to him. So kind of, boosted his value. I actually, it's kind of funny. I mean, I like the Bijan Kyron Williams tandem there, but I kind of like these wide receiver teams, Yellow Bird and Rich McEwen. Jamar Chase, Lad McConkey. I mean, McConkey just in a PPR format is going to be fantastic. But, like the CeeDee Lamb, Drake London tandem there is very, very strong as well.
Yeah, agreed. I think London's going to have a big season with Penix there as his QB. And we see Brock Bowers go now. So Mason just did us a favor and did not take Bowers in round 2 and then took him with the first pick in round 3 just to buck the system.
Drive that ADP down.
Exactly.
Down.
Exactly. So he goes Gibbs, Garrett Wilson, and Brock Bowers. You got yourself a number 1 at 3 positions there. I mean, that's a solid build if you're going to go that route. You never know what's going to happen with the tight end position when you're picking on the corner like that. Lou Redwood, he takes Trey McBride 3 picks later. Breece Hall and A.J. Brown go as well. So, Howard, what do you think so far? Anything standing out to you? You're surprised by anything? I mean, there's nothing really anything too crazy at this point.
No, nothing crazy. A.J. Brown slipping into the 3rd kind of gets me a little weirded out. I don't really understand. You've got a situation here where, the Eagles defense isn't as good. Maybe they end up having to throw a little bit more later on in the games. This isn't going to be, the Eagles are not just going to hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley 340 times again this year. They're not going to. They want to, if they're going to, make things happen. I think that's kind of why a lot of people are, a little bit more bullish in the late rounds on a guy like Will Shipley, because they know that, Barkley's not going to have a career season again. He's not plateauing where he was. He's going to kind of step back because they're probably going to save him a little bit more. We know what he can do. So I don't think, but then I also don't think that the Eagles are going to be able to have the luxury of just running the football and running the clock out like they did a lot in the second half last year, because their defense was on lockdown. So I think it's going to be a different story there. And I think that the Eagles are going to have to push the ball downfield more. He's already talking about it. What's his last name? Patullo, the new offensive coordinator over there. I mean, promoted from within, but even he's turned around and said that he thinks that they need to throw the ball a little bit more.
Yeah, it would make sense. Definitely keep the defenses honest. They could be creeping up a little more, trying to stop Barkley, so have some more openings. They have some really good receivers as well. One player that I'm not sure we've talked about at all yet on any of these streams, Tyreek Hill. He goes there with the 5th pick in the 3rd round. What are you thinking for Hill this year? You think he's going to come back at this point of his career? You think he has a chance to rebound, get back to his old ways?
Kind of needs to, doesn't he? Although the talk of retirement over the last couple of seasons was always kind of annoying. Then it was the wrist injury for him. I mean, he's still, I kind of view him as like in a very similar light to McCaffrey. If everything breaks right for him, then, it's wheels up and we're psyched, right? Now, he also, he's got to stay healthy. Jalen Waddle needs to stay healthy. They got rid of Jonnu Smith for Darren Waller. That's a whole other, ball of weirdness there. So, I mean, I like Tyreek. I haven't taken any of him because there are other guys, in that range where he's going that I just kind of like. And, I've become a little bit more bullish on even taking the early quarterback. So I would rather have a Lamar Jackson or a Jalen Hurts in my possession than a Tyreek Hill and the question marks that surround him.
All right, round 3 in the books. As always, if you have any questions, comments about anything, feel free to add them here, and we will get to them as well. Brent Campbell asks, any thoughts on an auction best ball championship? That's not a bad idea. We're always open to ideas about new contests, new games as well. We've toyed around with the idea of doing a really deeper roster league for football like we do in baseball. So we're thinking about adding that as well, but we're always open to ideas. I like the best ball auction championship. So maybe we'll look into that, Brent. That's a good suggestion. And Juan Pablo has a hard-hitting question If my kicker misses a field goal, but it bounces off the upright and still goes in, do I get the points? I mean, that's a pretty self-explanatory answer. If it goes in, yeah, you get your points, Juan.
Yeah. I mean, if my kicker misses it, well, he's technically not missing
It
the field
goes
goal
in
if
if
it
it
hits
goes
the
through.
upright
Yeah.
and it goes in.
Yeah. It's good. All right.
Deep
I was
thought
actually
with Juan Pablo.
I was in a league once where we had one of my league mates. They allowed him to make a stupid, crazy rule every year. And the one year he made it a rule called the 38 special. If your kicker kicked a 38-yard field goal, you got 13 points. It was crazy.
big fan of the band, right? A little Southern rock.
Exactly. Oh man, but you can do that with our scoring system here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. You can implement crazy rules like that if you have a commissioner league. So that was always an interesting rule. And you start looking up kickers that have a tendency to kick those 38-yard field goals, things you never thought you would do.
That'd be a weird thing to try to track.
Yeah, exactly. So third round goes Howard, Brock Bowers, AJ Brown, Breece Hall, Trey McBride, Tyreek Hill, James Cook, Josh Allen, T. Higgins, Lamar Jackson. So 2 QBs off the board, Rashee Rice, Chuba Hubbard, and Terry McLaurin. And then we start with another QB, Jaden Daniels, and then Burrow went with that last pick in the 4th round with the 5th pick there. So starting to see some QBs fly off the board again. This is fairly normal. I mean, Terry McLaurin, that's about right where he goes as well. Nobody's ADP getting beat too much here. I guess Chuba Hubbard, again, that's kind of about where he goes, but I'd rather have Kenneth Walker than him. I know you would as well, Howard.
Yeah, I'd rather have Kenneth Walker, but I do love Chuba Hubbard. I mean, I really do. Yeah. I mean, everything that he's done, and everything that Dave Canales has shown us as a coach, and sticking with the one guy and not needing, somebody else to take touches away from him is great. But yeah, Chuba in the 3rd is probably a little earlier than I've seen. Rashee Rice right there is probably right about where he should be going. I've started to see him creep into the 2nd round. Crazy,
wow.
right?
Yeah.
People are getting much more bullish on him. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah. Never know. As the season draws closer, like you said, he could just keep moving up. And I looked last year. So if he would have played a full year last year, I know we love to play these what if games, but he would have had 102 catches for 12,224 yards and 9 touchdowns. So that's a huge season. So I get it. I get why people are high on him. And that's one of the reasons I like Mahomes for his current ADP as well. Getting him as like the 7th QB off the board. I think that's a good spot for him. I'm willing to take a chance on that all day. Marvin Harrison as well. He was a guy going in the 2nd round last year. Now he's a 4th round pick. I still don't know what to think about Harrison. What you think he gets it going? You think this is his breakout season? Everything going to come together for him?
I mean, it's so funny. Like, what are our expectations for these guys at times?
That's true.
This dude had over 800 yards and 8 touchdowns last season in a rookie year where he's trying to kind of gel with Kyler Murray, who's also struggling to get through his progressions and look for where his 2nd and 3rd targets are, as opposed to just scrambling around and dumping it off to Trey McBride. Harrison, because everybody took him in the 2nd round last year, had these crazy whacked out, overblown expectations for what he was going to do. And, again, when you draft a guy that high, you're drafting him at his ceiling. You're not drafting him for any kind of value. So if he doesn't have this phenomenal rookie year, then you just screwed yourself, right? You're just not getting the value. I think he puts it together. I think he's just way too talented. I think this comes down to Kyler Murray putting the work in, learning to go from, look through your different progressions rather than just take the easy way out, scramble around, look like a video game and dump it over to Trey McBride, once he finds his way open. I think they kind of put it together a little bit better this year. And we see some stronger performances and just steady growth. That's all we're looking for, growth.
Yeah. And growth would be, close to 1,000-yard season, a couple more touchdowns, and that's good numbers for sure. It's funny, though. I feel like the Harrison season last year has completely impacted Ted McMillan's ADP for this year. He's 63 right now. And to me, I feel like it's a similar type situation. Going to be the number one receiver on the team, super talented, top 10 pick. I think he's set up for great things, but he's not going in the second round. People are taking him in the 5th, 6th round. And I think it might be because of what happened to Harrison last year, quite frankly. People are a little more skeptical, although you have Neighbors having that huge year last year and Thomas as well. But still, I still think it could have impacted the ADPs a little bit with a guy like McMillan, who I actually like a lot personally.
I mean, I like McMillan as well. I think he can walk away with a 25% target share.
Yep.
That's great. That's not every wide receiver one gets that, that consistent of a target share. So I definitely like that, for the way it's, the way he's kind of, working it. I think, I'm dying to see who he takes here with this pick. I'm dying to see who he takes here with this pick.
Yeah,
like, this is the funny thing, right? We've done enough of these Zay Flowers. So is Sean going to get what? I can't believe Sean's about to get what he's going to get.
Let's look at
I
the
can't imagine.
Here.
You don't even need to display. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Y'all let him get that Eagles stack.
Oh, and he already has A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Wow.
I mean, I was watching that develop there. When he took A.J. Brown in the 3rd, that was great. And then I was like, it came all the way over. As soon as he took Devonta Smith, I was like, wait, did Hurts go yet? And I was like, okay, is the guy who's picking first, is he going to go for that quarterback? Is he going to try and take this dude's stack away from him? He did not. The Roach Motel lands an Eagles stack with 2 outstanding running backs as well. That is a baller move.
Yeah, and I thought Masons might go that route because he's kind of been looking at, establishing those number one options at each of his positions. So it would have made sense maybe to look at a QB at that point, but didn't do it. He let Roach Motel get that Eagle stack, as you mentioned, Howard. So definitely interesting. That's the first time I think we've seen that stack like that. I mean, 2 receivers on the same team, it's fine. I feel like both of them are more than capable of having 1,000+ yard seasons. So I think people get scared off by it sometimes, but I don't think you can. So with talent like that on their side. So I still think going stacks like that at receiver with 2 on the same team is not the worst thing to do in the world when they're as talented as those guys are.
No, we saw a ton of people win a ton with the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins stack last year. So, it works, especially if you do believe that the Eagles do a little bit more of a high volume passing kind of a situation. But what I love about it though is that he got all of these guys at ADP or slightly better, right?
Yeah.
Like A.J. Brown in the 3rd round. Okay, good, solid pick. Devonta Smith, going exactly where he goes in ADP. And then you get Jalen Hurts in the 5th round. I mean, listen, Jalen Hurts in the 5th round or Josh Allen in the 3rd round. I love you, Rich. Love you. But I'd much rather have Jalen Hurts in the 5th than Josh Allen. At least I know those rushing touchdowns with one more year of the tush push are more guaranteed than Josh Allen's rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, for sure. We do have a question in the chat, Howard. Who do you think will be more consistent, Harvey or Johnson? I'm assuming he means Caleb Johnson. I think I know your answer to this, probably, but I'll let you.
Yeah, I mean, Harvey's definitely my answer on this one. Listen, I love Caleb Johnson, and I think Caleb Johnson. I mean, he just slots right into that Najee Harris role.
Yeah.
The problem is Arthur Smith. Oh, I mean, this dude's gonna roll out like 4 tight end sets. It's just absolute maddening what kind of work this guy. And this is like, I mean, you look at like former tight end coaches tend to overfavor the tight end, and that's where he started when he got when he started his first coaching gig was as a tight ends coach for the Titans. And so I think that he utilizes them a little too much. So yes, I love Caleb Johnson, but I don't know how much Arthur Smith's going to want to use Jalen Warren. I don't know how he's going to get stupid with certain things. But RJ Harvey, it was always going to be a shared workload with whoever it was, whether it was Audric Estime or Jaleel McLaughlin. It was just, they would have adjusted roles from there. You bring in J.K. Dobbins, it's a two-man split. You don't have to worry about the third guy. That's not going to be an issue. And both guys are actually capable of catching the passes out of the backfield and taking it between the tackles. I think Harvey gets a little bit more on that because I think Harvey is the better between the tackles, younger, healthier kind of guy that, I think he gets that Alvin Kamara role where J.K. Dobbins ends up more in like that Mark Ingram role.
So I'm all for seeing how this Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers marriage plays out. It's not going to, I can't see it ending well. Rodgers wants to throw the ball 75% of the time, and Smith does not want to do that. This is going to be fun to watch this year, I think, as long as you're not a Pittsburgh fan.
Well, Pittsburgh fans, I mean, they are just in a world of hurt right now.
Yeah.
A world of hurt. I mean, listen, I get it, right? You got Jalen Ramsey on one side, so Joey Porter Jr. on the other, but losing the safety and Minkah Fitzpatrick for what? For what? Like, you did it so that, like, you're trading off. You could have just left Minkah Fitzpatrick there with another corner and still been fine. You float a little safety help every now and again. Jalen Ramsey I think he's lost a step. I don't think he's as powerful as he once was. So I think you downgraded your secondary there to bring in your boy at tight end.
Yeah. I think he's going to go get Kyle Pitts next. He's going to roll out 3 tight end sets. He's just going to go. He's going all in on the tight end. It's going to be
three's nothing, dude. He's 5, 6 tight ends. Darnell, here you go. They're going to add in guys like Michael Pruitt, right? Because you need somebody, right, to be the red zone leading rusher. Because it won't be Caleb Johnson. It won't be Jalen Warren. Leading the team in rushes inside the 5-yard line will be like Michael Pruitt, Darnell Washington, jackass, like 4th string, no mobility tight end. That's what's going to happen.
And DK is built like a tight end, so he fits in well with that room there. So that should be good. All right, so 5th round, we got Zay Flowers. As we mentioned, Jalen Hurts goes to Roach Motel. He gets that Eagle stack. Then DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, Chris Godwin, Patrick Mahomes, DeAndre Swift, Jameson Williams, James Conner, Joe Mixon, Travis Henner, and Xavier Worthy. So I think there's a couple backs here that fit your narrative of some running backs that you like getting late. I'm assuming you're a James Conner guy in the 5th round, maybe even Joe Mixon, even RJ Harvey. Those some of your targets you like to get if you want to go receiver heavy early there, Howard?
Yeah, I'm not so bullish on Mixon. He's dealing with the ankle issue. They brought in Nick Chubb. Like all of a sudden they're like stockpiling running backs, which makes me a little bit nervous. But I like Connor. I'm coming around a little bit more on DeAndre Swift, actually, because there's no competition for touches. Roshan Johnson.
I feel the same way. That's why I like him. I don't trust their backup situation at all.
Yeah, I don't either. But yeah, I mean, the rest of RJ Harvey, I like. Caleb Johnson, I do like. I just hate Arthur Smith. I don't know. I mean, I get that Trevion Henderson is talented, but are we still because it's Josh McDaniels, are we still so desperate that we're still looking for the next James White?
Yeah, it's fair. It's a fair
point.
All
you hear. Oh, it's next James White. It's next James White. Is he though?
I'd rather have a guy that is more of a 3-down back than a guy that just catches passes like James White did. I think that's more beneficial, and I don't know if Henderson's that guy. I think he can do well between the tackle as well if he gets going. So Tony Pollard's another guy. I think I like that for the value personally, because I think that offense is going to be better. Tajay Spears wasn't much of a factor last year. I know Pollard can be a little up and down, but he's capable of that huge game any given week. So I don't mind him at all in the 6th round either.
Well, my friend Brian Callahan was just quoted as saying that he's hoping that this backfield really becomes more of a 50-50 split.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Spears was a little banged up at times last year. He was
Pollard?
No, Spears was banged up a little bit. I think that's why he didn't get as much run. He had a couple nagging injuries. I can't remember what it was.
Ineffectiveness. That's a horrible.
That is
No,
a
I
bad.
mean, I like Spears. I do. And, and there's something about Pollard also, but maybe Pollard's kind of lost a step. He's been around for a while. And Spears doesn't like, I hear 50-50 split and I'm like, come on, man. Come on. You're like slowly whittling down the number of Titans that I would trust in a fantasy lineup now.
That's true. Yeah. If it's not, you'd rather have it a situation where it's two better backs like Montgomery and Gibbs than Pollard and Spears. So
Yeah.
if it's not those elite guys like that, it is definitely scary. Pacheco's one guy that I seriously don't know what the heck is going to happen with him this year. I have no idea. That's might be my hardest guy to rank out of all the running backs right now, because I really do not know what's going to happen there at all.
Yeah, I don't really know what's going to happen at all. I mean, I find it kind of interesting. I think Andy Reid was trying to groom Pacheco to be that every down back, like, I mean, he covets the days of Jamal Charles and Priest Holmes and, and those Kansas City backs that were just, they were phenomenal. Right. And I think that he was trying to kind of groom Pacheco into that, mold, but it just never took. Kareem Hunt there, he starts getting some of the pass catching work. They brought
Elijah Mitchell.
Oh yeah. They brought in Elijah Mitchell. But here's the funny thing about it, right? Like Pacheco, I think, is going to end up, that early down between the tackles guy. And then you kind of have to figure out who's going to be the pass catching back. Because I don't think Andy Reid believes that he's got, and I know Pacheco dealt with injuries last year, right? He broke a leg, and then had the rib injury towards the very tail end of the season as well. But I think that Andy Reid probably utilizes him as an early down between the tackles guy. And then you have to just figure out who's going to win the pass catching role, in there. Is it Kareem Hunt again? Is it Elijah Mitchell, who never really did a lot of pass catching when he was with the 49ers, or who's the kid they drafted? Oh, Brashard Smith.
Yeah. Another guy. Yep. You never know what Andy Reid's going to do in the backfield. I do feel like Pacheco has clearly the most talent. He runs angry, and I like that. But you just don't know how it's going to shake out. What I do like a lot, Howard, in round 6, all 4 of those receivers, those are 4 of my favorite targets in the 6th, 7th round, and they all get picked in the 6th round. Calvin Ridley, Tet McMillan, Jerry Jeudy, and George Pickens. I absolutely love all 4 of those guys. There's guys that I have a lot of shares of all of them.
Yeah, I have a surprisingly strong number of shares of George Pickens. I've got a bunch of Tet McMillan. I've got a bunch of Calvin Ridley. I don't have as much Jerry Jeudy.
Okay.
And I probably know I should, especially if Joe Flacco is going to be the starter come week 1. I don't know, man. There's so much happening over there with the quarterback situation that I did have to like trim down on my move for the Browns. I think Cedric Tillman's one of my most common 17th round picks in best ball, right? And I'm just like, yeah, but who's going to be the QB throwing the football? Like, who is it really going to be?
I mean, you saw those reports where Deshaun Watson's taking Shadur Sanders under his wing, so everything's under control there. Everything should be.
What could possibly go wrong, Jeff?
No, it seems just like a great situation. So we got another stack here, Howard. So the team right smack dab in the middle, Josie Wales. He took Mahomes, Kelsey, pairs that with Genty, Jackson Smith, Najigba, James Cook, and Mike Evans. So that's a pretty strong build for his team, picking out of the middle. I think last week I liked the teams in the middle as well, but that one kind of stands out to me right now. I think he's doing well so far.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think I like the Mahomes Kelsey pairing. I really do. I think that it's like one last hurrah for them, right? I think this will probably be the end of the road, but I don't think he like goes out completely fizzles out and falls off a cliff. I think we'll see a little bit something more from him there. And they want Mahomes to push the ball downfield a lot more. That's been a very, very strong focal point for this offense, because you have a healthy Marquise Brown, because you've got a healthy Rashee Rice, because you've got a healthy Xavier Worthy, and now you got you got a tight end, a healthy tight end right in the middle there. They want to push the ball down through the air a lot more than they have been. I think they're getting that itch where they're like, all right, we've kind of coasted enough. We're going to need to like step up our game.
So Kelsey goes in round 6 and Laporta in round 7. So that was kind of my debate in the last draft I just wrapped up. Who would you go with out of those two? I feel like they're kind of interchangeable here. I actually end up taking Laporta because I think he has a little more big game potential. I think Kelsey's going to be a little more consistent. But if you have to pick between Kelsey and Laporta, who do you like out of those two?
I've got Laporta ranked like a spot ahead of Travis Kelsey.
Okay.
Because I mean, you're also talking like I just rattled off 3 wide receivers, like ahead of Travis Kelsey, probably on the like competing for targets with him.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot different. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, you got Jameson Williams. They don't have really like Samuel Laporta is number 3 on that team in targets. It's not Khalif Raymond. I don't even know who else they have on that. It's not Isaac Tesla or whatever his name was. So yeah, I like Laporta more for just a bigger target share.
Same way. Pick before him, Chris Olave. Talk about a guy who's fallen this year, man. I mean, definitely you can see the reasons why, but man, he has really fallen in drafts. He's going after Jalen Waddle, Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall. Do you want to take a chance on Olave in round 7? Do you think that's a prudent move, or you just avoid him altogether because of all that?
I'm avoiding the Saints. I really, really am. Again, Olave is one hospital ball away from retirement.
Yep.
Rashid Shaheed is coming back from a knee issue. Kellen Moore likes to throw the football or, likes to throw downfield. But I don't know if these guys, Tyler Shugg or Spencer Radler can really do it. So, like one of the things I've talked about it before is that Kellen Moore doesn't like to throw to the running backs. So if he's not going to throw to Kamara like Kamara is used to, like where's he going with the ball? And is he really going to put the ball in the hands of these, these kids and what they can and can't do? I just, I love Chris Olave, the player. Mm-hmm. But this situation is just brutal. I can't do it. I can't.
And to me, that's a point where you're looking at ADP and everybody's like, oh, he should be taken, so I'm going to take him. You don't have to take him just because a player falls. They fall for a reason at times. So
yes.
Just something to think about if somebody's falling in your draft. So we had another question. Brent asks, will Chicago be able to support multiple receivers? So they have Adunze, DJ Moore, and now Luther Burden there. Colston Loveland as well, and Cole Kmet. So what do you think? Do you think they're going to be able to support all those guys? You have new Ben Johnson in there, head coach, coming from the Detroit Lions, their high-flying offense. Do you think all these guys are going to be viable options?
I think DJ Moore is definitely in play. I like him. I think Rome Odunze is definitely in play. I like him. And then I think that third level of target share could go to Colston Loveland. If you wanted to get Cole Kmet involved, like heavily involved, you don't draft Colston Loveland at 10th overall.
Yeah.
Like you're drafting Colston Loveland at 10th overall because you think he reminds you of Sam Laporta and you're going to put him to work in that fashion. So I think the top 3 target shares right there are going to be fine. I think Luther Burden still has work to do. There's some people who think that Luther Burden could surpass Rome Odunze. I'm not in that camp yet, but I do think that, you can support, you're going to throw the ball enough to support 2 wide receivers and a tight end. Are they all going to get, you're getting 1,000 yards out of both receivers? No, probably not. You probably get like 850, from one, 1,200 from, DJ Moore, and then Colston Loveland probably gets you, 650, 700 yards maybe in that realm.
I mean, you can just look at kind of how Detroit played out. You had Amon-Ra St. Brown could be kind of the DJ Moore, racking up a lot of
Yep.
the targets, and then Jamison Williams could be Rome Odunze, stretching the field, more of a big play threat. And then Sam Laporta, definitely a viable option as the tight end. And then every once in a while, their number 3 receiver was involved. So I think that's kind of a blueprint you could use there for that offense this year in Chicago. So tripping Billy's here, Howard, at the end of the I guess 8th round he's picking near the end of the draft. He's picking the 11th. He went second tight end already with George Kittle already on his roster. He takes Evan Ingram. I know you're high on Ingram, but what do you think about going 2 tight ends with your first 8 picks?
I mean, you're playing with, is it 2 flex in this
2
one?
Flex. Yeah. 2 flex, 2 running back, 2 receiver.
So, the way it's kind of structured right now, McCaffrey and Hubbard are his 2 running backs. Nico Collins, either Travis Hunter or George Pickens becomes his number 2 wide receiver. And then you've got, the extra wide receiver and the tight end. You've got great targets there for Evan Ingram that I think that he or Kittle, based on everything that I'm seeing, I think he can use both those guys in his lineup every single week and be productive. I think that, because I'd rather go with one of these tight ends than, in my flex than to see, who else he's got. Maybe Travis Hunter pans out as a wide receiver, kind of thing. Jacoby Myers doesn't have like a huge ceiling. So maybe if you need a ceiling game, you kind of pick on use one of the tight ends. Cause I think both Kittle and Ingram are in great spots for targets.
Yeah, I agree with that. My only concern would be if you have Christian McCaffrey on your roster, only 2 running backs. We all know his injury history, and I guess there is a player that hasn't been drafted yet that he's probably going to target, but worries me a little bit just having 2 running backs and then taking a second tight end. I may have tried to address that 3rd running back just because of Christian McCaffrey's injury history personally. That's the way I might have gone about attacking things. All right, Howard, you got 2 QBs now in round 8. Mayfield, Knicks goes. That's probably tad higher than we've seen him go. I know you love Knicks this year, so Lou Redwood gets him, pairs it with Cortland Sutton. He has Saquon, Chase Brown, Trey McBride, DK Metcalf, Cortland Sutton, David Montgomery, Olave, and Bo Nix. Not a bad build for him. X marks the spot right next to him. I think he's done well. He's kind of filled out his starters as well with Jefferson, Hill as his receivers, and he has Jacobs, Kamara at running back, Godwin and Judy as his flex, and Laporta and Mayfield as well. Any builds that you're looking at right now, Howard, that you like, that you're feeling good about after 8 rounds here when Masons makes his pick?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, listen, first and foremost, Lou Redwood's team 4 years ago is amazing. Right? DK, Sutton, Olave, I definitely dig that. It's kind of funny if I'm looking at some of these builds of the teams that I like the most right now so far. Was it Friendly Fire at the wheel? I still really like that team. I like the way it's kind of developed and put together. He's trying to grab a little bit of running back depth there. I think that's worthwhile. I got to shout out Rich McEwen here. The Walker Sharby Sharbs handcuff, smart move there. And then again, it's kind of funny. Not my ideal group of wide receivers there towards the tail end there. I'm not a Jalen Waddle fan, but I mean, I really like what Roach Motel's put together here. I'm very curious to see where he goes as far as his running backs go, though, because you need some depth.
Yeah, there's a couple teams that have some depth issues at running back right now. I mean, Roach Motel has 2. You have X marks the spot has 2, and then Trippin' Billy's has 2 as well. So, actually, there's another one, Suncoast. He only has 2 also. So it's getting thin at running back too. Let's pull up that list here, see who's still out there at running back. And there's not a whole lot. You got Najee Harris, Tajay Spears, Ramondre Stevenson, Tank Bigsby, Tootin, Jerome Ford, Austin Eckler. So it's really getting thin there. So these teams that have just 2 running backs, man, you got to worry about their depth a little bit, with what's available out there.
Yeah, you got to worry about your depth a lot. I mean,
yeah,
looking at it right now, I mean, it's some interesting names that I can, chat up here about. The role for Najee Harris, I think, is going to be fine. We just talked about Tajay Spears possibly getting like a 50% share out of it. Trying to think of who was the other one there. Oh, and Bigsby's kind of intriguing as well. And if you believe that he could emerge as the number one there in Jacksonville, are they frustrated enough with Travis Etienne over time? We saw it in Tampa Bay last year, right? Rachaad White the year before in Dave Canales' system was a top 5 fantasy running back. He was just getting volume. Then last year with Liam Cohen, we knew he wasn't going to see the same kind of volume. And so the question was, then you look at his underlying numbers and you look to see, what his metrics look like. And none of his metrics look good. So you knew it was just a matter of time before the new regime who brought in Bucky Irving, like all of a sudden, so it kind of, did that. ETN has not been running efficiently. Yes, they brought in Bashal Tutin, but now they're already criticizing his pass blocking. So that could be a problem. If you can't pass block, you're done. Like that's it. And then does that make Tank Bigsby as being, he was more efficient than ETN was last year? He probably can pass block better than Bashal Tutin. So, all of a sudden, like that becomes like a moderately intriguing option.
I'm getting more and more intrigued by Jadon Blue as we draw closer to the season. I mean, round 8, I think he's totally worth a dart throw. I keep seeing, talks where a lot of the experts in Dallas think he could end up being the starter by season's end. So I think that's definitely worth a dart throw personally.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that it's definitely worth the with the dart throw here. There's no doubt about it. I think he can be the starting running back. It's so funny. There's like recent comments coming out that like, Miles Sanders is like turning heads in camp. And I'm like, no, don't fall for it. I'm not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. You're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe.
Oh.
I think Jadon Blue ends up like as the lead running back in this system. I think he pushes Javonte Williams, and I think he pushes Miles Sanders aside. So yeah, to get him in round 8, I think that's a perfectly fine guy because you're getting that upside. Like he'll have standalone value now, but he's got the potential of being more. So I like it.
I still can't figure out what the heck happened to Javonte Williams after his rookie season. I guess injuries played a toll, but he looked so explosive and tough to take down. He was bouncing off people, but man, I have no faith in him and running away with that job in Dallas. That's another reason why I like Jadon Blue. I just don't know.
It's a shame, right? The knee injury, I guess, is like, he just never recovered from the knee properly.
Yep. Never the same back, unfortunately. Same thing with Nick Chubb now going forward, too. Another guy that you hate to see because he looked like he could be one of the best backs in the league for a lot of years. But, man, devastating injuries, unfortunately. So now we see Jonnu Smith get taken in the 9th round. He goes off the board. So what do you think? We haven't talked about him yet. What do you think is going to happen with Jonnu Smith there in Pittsburgh?
I think he's going to go into this like tight end shuffle. I really do. He'll be used, but again, you've got Pat Freiermuth there, and you've got Darnell Washington there. Who they have? They had Donald Parham, but he ended up getting hurt. So who else is there? Oh, Connor Hayward is the 4th guy. So, like here's the interesting thing, because Connor Hayward kind of, plays like a dual role as like a fullback as well. Mm-hmm. So if he's on the field, like where are the snaps going for Freiermuth? Where are the snaps going for Jonnu Smith? I think someone brought it to my attention that in an Arthur Smith system, no tight end has seen a higher than a 70% snap share, something like that. So he's going to rotate him in. I think Jonnu Smith is landed in a terrible spot, and I think it sucks for Pat Freiermuth. Pat Freiermuth, who actually is he's got the next locker next to Aaron Rodgers. So if Freiermuth is smart, he'll do what Robert Tonyan did a couple of years ago, right? Tonyan walked over to Rodgers and said, "Tell me what I need to do to be your favorite target." And so Rodgers told him, "If I roll out to the left, I want you here. If I roll out to the right, I want to see you here. If I'm over here, if I read if I look at this defense and I see this, this, and this, I want you to see it the exact same way as me." And Tonyan worked on that. And he became Rodgers' favorite target. He had like 11 touchdowns that year. Probably would have had a good second year as well, but he ended up getting hurt. So, I look at that situation like Freiermuth better be like, I don't know, like bring a bag of mushrooms, bring some ayahuasca, put some crystals in your locker to show that you are, that you're trying to keep your chakras open. Like then maybe I think Freiermuth kind of runs away with the job.
Yeah, I have low expectations for Jonnu Smith now. I liked him a lot. If he stayed with Miami this year, I don't know what they're doing. You mentioned that as well. They bring in Darren Waller, so you're just getting rid of a top playmaker who had, nearly 900 yards receiving last year, and you bring in Darren Waller, who's been out of football. He's 32 years old, seemed to not have a passion to want to play anymore. I don't understand what's happening in Miami.
Everybody's listening to sad rap music now, right? Isn't that what it was? He was like dropping beats about his ex-wife, like leaving him, and it just like put him into this like fit of depression. I mean, first off, I actually wasn't even really that high on Jonnu because Jonnu popped last year because Waddle was hurt and Tyreek was hurt, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why he started to see that increase in targets. And Tua just kind of got comfortable with them. But, everybody's healthy. It's a different story. Waller, it's just bad. That's bad form. I can't imagine. I even said this to the Fantasy Alarm, community. I said, if one of you guys drafts Darren Waller, get out. I'm going to rescind your subscription.
I'm not convinced he even makes the team. Still, I'm not convinced that that's even a for sure thing. He's got to come in shape and show that he has a passion for the game still. I have very low expectations for him.
Very low.
Very low. All right, Howard, we got another round in the books. Round 9 goes with TJ Hawkinson, Najee Harris, Mark Andrews, Josh Downs, Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, Michael Pittman Jr., Jordan Mason, Jonnu Smith, Caleb Williams, Tajay Spears, Emeka Egbuka. As we mentioned, the tight end, the running back position getting really thin. So all these guys going off the board now. J.K. Dobbins went in round 10, then Ramondre Stevenson, Nick Chubb. You like any of those guys taken in the last couple? I'm kind of intrigued by Jordan Mason, quite frankly. I think Suncoast did well in getting the handcuff there for Aaron Jones, but he kind of intrigues me a little bit because I just don't know how much Jones has left in the tank. It doesn't intrigue you that much, I guess.
No. I mean, it does, right? I'm trying to figure out. There are a lot of people touting him as having standalone value. And I mean, I see him. I don't necessarily see him as having standalone value. I see him as a good handcuff.
Yeah.
I see him as a good handcuff. And, like you said, I mean, Aaron Jones doesn't have the cleanest injury record at all. And I think that's that's a shame. I was kind of looking around here for, what Friendly Fire was going to do, because I like the, I like the build that I'm seeing over there. I just thought I'm surprised that J.K. Dobbins was the pick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can understand Egbuka if you want to just like take a shot at a rookie who could be in a great situation. He's getting a lot of buzz. But yeah, I thought that it's interesting with J.K. Dobbins as far as that pick goes. Only because again, you got ATM. Oh, but he's got R.J. Harvey. Never mind. I'll shut up. I'll just shut up right now. Sorry, Friendly Fire. I don't know why I wasn't thinking about locking down the Denver running backs, which over the last, how about that? Over the last 18 seasons, a Joe Lombardi running back room has led or been in the top five for running back receptions and targets. 18 straight seasons.
Ooh. Yeah, fantasy owners have to love hearing that. Definitely something to take note of. Friendly Fire just trying to hit with one of those running backs. So I don't mind it. I mean, Scattaboo, ETN, Dobbins, fine. Sure, go for it. That's what you got to do at that point of the draft.
Yeah. Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. So far, we always have to, I know we don't like to play favorites, but, you always ask me at the end of these shows who my favorite build is right now.
Yeah. Go
so
for
far,
it.
I'm leaning Friendly Fire here. I really am.
You talked about some of your late round shares as well. One of them just went off the board for me. I have a lot of Trey Harris. I just feel like he's worth a shot. I don't totally trust him in that offense, but they aired it out more at the end of the last season. I felt like when they took the reins off Herbert a little bit, things got better. I just think he's a more talented version of the players they have there already. I see him vaulting to the top of that depth chart ahead, right behind Ladd McConkey. So I think Harris is a guy that could end up being a good pick for teams in the middle rounds here.
I love Trey Harris. I have a lot of Trey Harris. I do believe that. I mean, what's his competition? They need a big split end to complement Ladd McConkey. Quentin Johnston didn't do it. Mike Williams can never stay healthy. So who else is going to do it? So I love the Trey Harris call there. I love it, 100%.
Yeah. For sure. So you're watching the Fantasy Life Championship live stream event. We do it every Wednesday here on our YouTube channel on RealTime Fantasy Sports. You want to get in to one of these drafts. They're going off around the clock at this point. I mean, we have drafts every night for the Fantasy Life Championship. They're filling every night. So if you want to get in one this weekend, holiday weekend, you got some time maybe for the fireworks, get in a draft here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. Go to RTSports.com. Also, next week's Fantasy Life Championship live stream draft is open right now. You can sign up for that. Then hear Howard and I break it down live here on the air. Howard has already mentioned his favorite team was Friendly Fire. I'm trying to take a look now to see who I like the most. Oh man, there's some good teams in this draft. There's some different builds as well that we've seen in past, which is good. Good to see. I mean, that Roach Motel team's really strong in my opinion. He just took Tyler Warren as his number one tight end. So he has Bijan, Kyron Williams, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts, Tet McMillan, Jalen Waddle, Ayuk, Najee Harris, Keon Coleman, and Tyler Warren. I might go with Roach Motel is my favorite team. For you, it's Friendly Fire. Anybody else you want to mention before we scoot out of here, Howard?
Look at how yummy delish Rich McEwen's team is. Red Blaze 1. CeeDee Lamb, Drake London as your top wide receivers. Kenneth Walker, DeAndre Swift as your top running backs. You've got the handcuff to Charbonnet. You add in Tony Pollard for some depth there. You've got a top 5 mobile QB in Josh Allen. And I'll tell you what, I think Michael Pittman in round 9, I'm getting a lot more bullish on with every bit that I look and see that Daniel Jones is going to end up being the starting quarterback for the Colts. And then just 2 great tight ends. Colston Loveland's going to get targets. I think Chigakonkwo could actually end up being the number 2 targeted pass catcher on the Tennessee Titans. I was talking about that earlier today because what other wide receivers do they have? Are we playing the Van Jefferson game again? No. Do we want to look at Treylon Burks who can't stay healthy? No. Tyler Lockett has definitely lost a step, and he's got a bit of a soft tissue injury history. So would it be the weirdest thing in the world for a Okonkwo to be a security blanket for Cam Ward?
Yeah, I agree. I could see that definitely happening. I thought he was going to have that breakout year last year, but the quarterback play was so bad. Didn't happen in Tennessee for Okonkwo. Yeah, it was so bad. Holy cow.
Oh, Will Levis. Oh.
Yeah, man, that's a shame. Another team I'll mention before we get out of here that I like as well is that Lou Redwood team. Now, I don't love that Chase Brown pick, but I get it. But I think he did well in this draft. Got Metcalf, Cortland Sutton, Olave, David Montgomery is his 3rd running back. He has Bo Nix, a guy both have both you and I like a lot this year. Josh Downs, Rashad White. I like the Gary Endo pick too. I kind of thought that the Tripp and Billy's team would have hit that pick maybe, a couple of rounds earlier just to secure that San Francisco backfield since he waited on running back. So that's maybe one of the few missteps I've seen in this draft, the Tripp and Billy's. I think I would have made sure I had Gary Endo on my team before I got out of here.
Yes. I mean, that's just again, that's a huge handcuff, but I mean, I've already said it, right? Like, I mean, maybe it's a dick move stealing somebody's handcuff, but Isaac Garendo there's such a clear path. There's such a clear path that, I feel like you have to do it. You have to handcuff the two of them together. And if you're somebody who takes McCaffrey, like, you can't be taking in round 9. You have to start looking. This is where all the key handcuffs are going, right? They're going in rounds 8 and 9 in a 12-team league. They're going in rounds 8 in a 10-teamer. So you have to, again, Walker and McCaffrey. Those are like my two, like, you absolutely must handcuff these guys with them. Like, because these guys, these backups can be almost as explosive as the top guy on that roster.
Not totally agree.
Yeah. The system.
I mean, a guy like Gary Endo is going to be a elite number 1 fantasy back if he's starting. And I think you just got to have him on your roster if you draft McCaffrey. So with that said, Howard, been a lot of fun as always talking with you during this Fantasy Life championship draft. Good luck to you the rest of this week in all your drafts here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. You got any other ones kicking off soon that people can get in?
Yeah. I mean, I was actually going to leave here and go into the draft room and see what's available and start that off. And also, how about this little special announcement here? For on tomorrow's Fantasy Alarm Show, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right? Brandon Fox, last year's RTSports Best Ball Championship winner, is going to join me and Andrew Cooper. We're going to talk about, the anatomy of a build, and do you need that late season correlation as much as some people are clamoring about? And so I'm excited to have Brandon Fox join us. We had Peter Valiotis a couple of weeks ago. He was the winner of the fantasy championship. So we're just doing like a little red carpet parade here of RT Sports, big time winners. So excited about that. So yeah, if you're, the show, he'll be on Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Channel 87, Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio.
Yeah, you'll want to definitely listen to that. It's definitely insightful to listen to these past champions to see how they build their rosters, how they manage it throughout the season as well. Not the best ball, but the overall championship that Peter was in. But it's just great stuff. You can definitely learn a lot, just like you learned a lot tonight by watching this draft here with us. Howard, thanks again for joining us. Appreciate it. Thanks to everybody out there for watching another live stream event here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. Good luck to all of you in your upcoming drafts. Enjoy the 4th of July. Get in some drafts here at RealTime Fantasy Sports.